Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Damn Yankees Podcast. It is September 14th. Thursday. Cliff didn't put up my cues.
That's right. I forgot to put your cues in the chat.
Hi, I'm
by
Megan.
the Seven Ashes Productions, and I'm Ryan.
You're Megan? Yes. We're doing really good. That's the baseball dummy Cliff.
This is amazing.
We're just I'm dummying everything else because I needed cues to open up the episode. What?
I said this is great.
You're great. Okay. You just set me up for failure. It's fine.
That's what I did.
All right. Well, Speaking of failure, let's talk about the Yankees.
That's a good transition.
Yeah.
So, pretty typical of this podcast. We're talking about injuries. Biggest one is Jason Dominguez.
The Martian. He's down. Yeah.
Yeah. Such an exciting start to his Yankee career. I mean, he gets 2 home runs in the Astros series, first pitch against Justin Verlander of all people. And he had a home run in his Yankee debut, Yankee Stadium debut, didn't he?
At least the debut series, if not the first game. But he definitely, I think he hit a double in the first game and maybe a home run in the second. But yeah.
He had been balling out. Apparently, this injury to his shoulder came up, or not his shoulder, his elbow came up during the Houston series. He didn't say anything until he went into the next series, and they kept playing him through that series until it was a full UCL tear, which is better known as Tommy John. So what they announced 9 to 10 months that he's going to be out?
Yes, that was what Boone's prediction was. He's going to get the surgery. He could get the version with the brace or the full surgery, which I don't fully understand, I guess. But I know there's a lesser Tommy John surgery that should take less time in recovery and the full-blown surgery. But Aaron Boone says regardless of whichever one it is, it should take 9 to 10 months for recovery. So we'll see. It's the Yankees. They're always conservative with their injury news.
And what I'll also say is I know a lot of people are grumpy when it comes to this whole situation because, if Stanton wasn't there, then, DH
he might be back sooner.
Available.
Yeah.
But what I would say, too, is understand that this is a 20-year-old rookie. One, his body could heal quicker. But no matter what, with this type of injury, this goes back to the medical staff just being incompetent. Again, I mean, there's nothing they can do until they say something. But he said something on Wednesday, and they continue to let him play.
Yeah.
This kind of just has the Anthony Rizzo or Trevino or name any other player situation written all over it where the player says, I have an injury, but I'll play through it. And they're like, oh, yeah, do that.
You're fine.
Do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you say you can play through it, you do it. Yeah. Because athletes definitely all the time are going to say they don't want to play.
Right. They'll be honest about their injuries.
This isn't the NBA where they sit for any small issue. Sorry, calling out the NBA there. They're not Kawhi Leonards of the world.
Better. Yeah.
But my point is, though, going back to Jason Dominguez, is he's 20 years old. He was a September call-up. There was no guarantee that he was going to be on the roster day one next season anyway. I mean, I think there was a good chance he would have had an opportunity to prove himself during spring training.
Yeah.
Even though it's 9 to 10 months until he's returned back, which offhand, what is that? July?
Yeah, I think
for
that's
9
July.
months.
June and July. Yeah.
June and July. So
9 to 10 months.
Earliest we're talking about June return to baseball. I don't expect that he's going to make an MLB appearance until probably August. He's going to have to go through rehab games in the minors. He's probably going to start in minor league games in single A and work his way up to triple A and see if he's still hitting the same as he was and throwing and fielding in the same way. I just would not expect to see him for most of next season, just on the simple fact, this isn't a secure starter. Like, this isn't Aaron Judge having an issue, where when he returns, he's returning to his spot.
And I do think, I mean, the injury is not good. Let's be clear. I wish he had not gotten injured, but I would hope at least this forces the front office to get a left fielder in the off season. Like, now you can't depend on Dominguez, and if you want to keep Pereira out there, but he's like struck out in more than half of his at bats. But I'm not
a big on Pereira right now.
I'm not. Yeah,
I don't understand why he was on the. It just not to go too far off topic. I just don't understand why he was ever on the untouchables.
He should have never been on the untouchables. He should have been a trade piece. Definitely. I mean, he plays a good outfield. I'm sure he has pop in his bat, but.
Oh, and it was there in AAA, but again, we know people like, what's his name, Florial, who has pop in AAA. I apologize for being ignorant. How has he been in the last few games?
He actually hasn't been bad, and he had I think he's hit, and I know he got a hit today and earlier today in the first game of the doubleheader. So he's done well, better than I think his last
couple of times up. And that's what I thought. I just didn't. I haven't seen anything. I don't think he's hit a home run since he's been up.
No, but I think he hit like a double or something, and he's had an RBI or two, or So he's been decent, and probably helps get consistent at bats, which he
wasn't getting before.
Right.
And that was a lot of people's main complaint with Florial, is he's never gotten the consistent at bats. But
so all that to say, hopefully it forces a move in the offseason. I mean, we hoped that last year, but and
I know a lot of people are still hoping that for Soto. I think the big thing when it comes to Soto is people are going to have to understand they're going to have to make trade moves.
They're going
to have to move pieces, and the Yankees right now have not been willing to move pieces.
Right.
And that's likely going to be Pereira, Peraza, which I'm fine with. Like, to get a guy like Soto, I'm fine with moving Pereira, Peraza, and a couple other pieces. But will Cashman do it? Cashman does not. Cashman thinks that he can get Soto for.
Well, I think after the last pod too, like Cashman it came out that he didn't want to call up the kids, but Hal made him do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you can believe any of these things, but I think that was on the Michael K show. So I feel like that has a little bit more credibility than not.
Yeah. I don't know. Just again, when it comes down to it, we've said it before, Hal has to step on Cashman's toes at times, but yet he will never fire him because he's his brother.
Best friends. Yeah. So the Dominguez injury definitely sucks, but it's not like losing Judge for a year. It's, so he's still developing. I wish he would have been available in spring training to start us off. In 24,
get an opportunity to be like Volpe, get that
would have been
spring
awesome.
Training, that Volpe spring training that he had. But
that last week was very fun.
unless Dominguez has a Harper-like recovery when it comes to his UCL, which can happen again. He's on the younger side. He's a healthier person.
You never know. Everyone's different.
But unless he has that Harper regenerative whatever Harper's got for the gene, I don't expect to see him in spring training. And if he doesn't make it to spring training, we just don't see him on the roster for majority of next season, which sucks because he is a fun player to watch, but a player that we may never see again in pinstripes.
It's Sevy. Yeah,
Severino.
Yeah, unfortunately, I watched that game, and he was actually pitching decently. Like the first inning, I think was like, oh, here we go, but he got it under control, was doing decently well, and then he pulled up and was in just such agony on his face. I think he said after the game that it felt like he got shot or something, or got stabbed. Like he said, it was pretty bad pain in his upper left torso. I still don't know if we know what exactly happened. They said they sent him for testing, but I think all I see is that it was upper left torso pain. I mean, it sounds like oblique to me, but odd that they wouldn't
didn't
come out.
word it that way.
Yeah. So, but, with him coming, this is the end of his, he's going into his free agent year. It was already pretty like unlikely, or maybe he was pitching decently again. So maybe he was going to get a 1-year prove it deal. But unfortunately, I think that just went out the window with this injury. And, it sucks because like I was rooting for Sevy to figure it out again because, he was part of the first, like, he's not a bomber, but he was part of the first like baby bomber, in 2016 or maybe a little before, right?
From our farm system that came up. Yeah, it's one of those things with Sevy that injuries really derailed his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a point where Severino was up there with the best of aces.
I mean, we kept hoping, that he would either be our ace before Cole or number 2 behind him, and then like you said, injuries and.
Yeah, just held him back. And I think last year we saw a little bit of what near the end, what we were hoping for with him. Because didn't he come back from injury again last year?
Yeah, and I think he
looked
pitched
good.
Yeah, was that the year he pitched out of the pen and looked like really good?
Yeah,
I thought it was. Yeah.
So it may not be his last ever. I mean, with the amount of injuries he's had, there's not going to be a lot of teams calling his number either.
Sure, so and maybe they have a soft spot for him and sign him on another a low prove it deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
He does have a really high ceiling, high potential. It's just he's so injury prone, and I wouldn't blame the Yankees for not offering him anything. Certainly.
I would be surprised if he's in Yankee pinstripes, but not as surprised if he had just gone through the season without injury. With that though, the Yankees may not even be looking for Severino, just because I don't know if you saw, but Cashman as well as a few other GMs had made their trips over to Japan.
I did see that. That's right. He saw the no hitter.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know his name. Right.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Okay. Yamamoto.
I think it's how you see. Yeah, Yamamoto. I'm hearing that it's very possible that the Yankees might offer him something around what they offered Tanaka. Obviously a little bit more because inflation. But I've heard that the Yankees are interested in signing Yamamoto. The only thing is that, again, when it comes to what we got no hit for 10 innings, it happened to be the one game that we won against
almost
Milwaukee.
10. It was like the 10th inning, so it was 9+.
Yeah.
Because I think 10 innings was some kind of
I thought it was 10+.
No, I think Volpe's hit came in the 10th inning.
Did it? Okay.
I
thought the first
either way
inning,
it sucked.
I thought that it was the 11th inning, but either way, Yamamoto, I would love to have somebody like him. I loved Tanaka during his time. I wish he didn't leave early like he had to. But obviously that would help our pitching rotation. But if we need hitting, he will not prevent us from – he might be able to throw a no-hitter, but if the other team's also getting a no-hitter, that doesn't help us win games.
That doesn't help us win. You're right. So, they were no-hit into the 11th, so 10 innings. So maybe maybe 11 innings was a record. I thought I saw they avoided
being
like a franchise record or an MLB record. Something. I don't know. So, but yeah, that was bad. They were no-hit for 10 innings and then somehow still won. But
it was the only one of that series we won.
So no lessons learned there, I guess. No. but we need hitting. We need a lefty bat. We need a left fielder. We need.
I'm still going to be big on Bellinger. I know there's some people who are concerned that Bellinger is going to be another Gallo,
Bust.
Which is kind of what everybody's worries were last year. I feel like he's figured a lot of stuff out. I don't think he's ever going to be MVP. Bellinger again.
And he has like the almost exact opposite personality of Joey Gallo. So like Joey Gallo is a very like high strung kind of guy, and then like Bellinger is just
Gallo's very calm. Yeah. So I think it'll work better than people think it does. He is also a very good left fielder, center fielder. Like he's also won Gold Gloves.
Yeah, I mean, we
even
certainly
in his
need
struggles.
someone who can play the left field position, not just hit and can catch in the outfield. Like we need someone who can actually play left field. Left field is huge at Yankee Stadium. Can't just be any old outfielder.
And if they can do it, if the Yankees were the Yankees, I wouldn't mind them going after Soto and signing Bellinger. Bellinger is a natural center fielder, not a left fielder. And with Dominguez being hurt, I would take a Judge Bellinger Soto outfield any day of the week.
Yeah, I'd take that. Yeah.
That's high hopes, but
if
the Yankees had any being their old self. If they were going to be their old self, that's what they would do. They would try to get these big names. They wouldn't just settle for one. They would be like, yeah, we're going to sign one and we're going to trade for the other. Yeah. Other injury news, I think Loizaga, both in the pen, Loizaga and Middleton have both gone into injury since toe? Is he toe?
Loizaga is his elbow. So they said elbow inflammation. And so I don't, it's this, he had bone spurs earlier in the year.
Okay. That's maybe what I was thinking of. Okay.
But he has right elbow inflammation, and he was sent for MRI testing, and I don't think we've heard anything about Loizaga. So don't know if he needs Tommy John or if I might have seen. Maybe I did see something about, or it was vague. It was a vague Boone thing, so nothing concrete. So probably not even worth discussing. I think it was like he's out for the rest of the season. If it was earlier in the season, he might only be shut down for like a few days, but because it's the end of the season, he's out for the season.
Gotcha.
I think but there was still no sure, and that I don't mind. It was like, okay, but what happened? Like,
what is?
Are we gonna find out like randomly? Like, oh, by the way, Loizaga had surgery overnight. But so I don't know, but yeah, he's on the 15-day IL. They moved Rizzo and Nestor to the 60-day IL to make room for more young pitchers.
Call-ups.
Yeah. Or other call-ups maybe. Yeah. So, I think that might be all the injury news. You never know with the Yankees.
You never know. There's always something. But that kind of brings us into last time we talked. We said, maybe if there was a miracle that had happened over the next couple weeks, the Yankees could find themselves back in a playoff hunt. Of course, at that time, 10 days ago, we were on a 6-game win. Just swept the Astros. I think we were on a 6-game winning streak.
Oh, no.
5-game winning streak.
Only 5. We can only manage 5 this year. No more than 5. So, yeah, it was 5 games.
Well, okay.
Or no, at the time.
It was only 3 at the time, but we went on to win 2 more.
Yeah.
Since then, we have gone 1, 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 3, 5 and 3, 6 and 3. Since then, which is not bad considering what we were dealing with.
Yeah, I was going to say considerably better than, the previous month.
But if in those 9 games, if we had done that during
the other 9
games losing streak, we would actually be only a game behind Toronto, 2 games behind the playoff hunt. So you really just see how much that 9-game losing streak really just screwed us over. Had things gone differently, what would Boone say if things had gone differently?
Oh, right now? Playoffs were right in front of us.
Yeah.
No problem. Told you all along. Boone would have been able to tell us he was right. But no, they went on a 9-game losing streak and proved us all right.
So right now we're sitting right at 500. After today's loss.
Sole last place at the moment while they are playing Boston, so that might change by the end. But it's 5-4. Last time I looked, it was 5-3. So
yeah. So you never know with the Yankees. So I mean, no guarantees for anything this season. But so basically, I think the last time we had talked, we had a certain amount of games. Basically, there was a wide range of possibilities that the Yankees could have. I think what I say, there's 16 possibilities, record possibilities that if they matched up correctly, the Yankees could be in the playoffs. Those 16 possibilities are currently, at least before this podcast, so I don't know about other scores through other games today, but there are 6 possibilities now, which at this moment, those possibilities, the way they've worked out, means that like Texas has to, for the rest of their season, can only win 5 games for the rest of the season.
Oof. Yeah, and there's like 2 weeks of games left, so that doesn't sound good.
No.
I think
the other 2 teams, Boston is actually under or right around, either under or right around where we want them to be as far as if we were going to make the playoffs to jump them. We're actually on the precipice of jumping them. If we win today, we move back tied, and we were not that close to them 2 weeks ago. I think we were actually 5 games behind them 2 weeks ago.
That sounds right. Yeah, it was like 4. Yeah, 5 games sounds right. Yeah, it was a good distance.
So we are moving in the right direction there. Toronto, we're not moving as well in that same direction, but close to it. But Texas has gone on, I think, 5-game winning streak right now.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it only takes us 5 more wins, and the Yankees are completely done. So that kind of puts into perspective of how unlikely this chance is, because it's not just 5 wins for Texas. Even if they get 4 wins, if Toronto gets 7 wins, we're done.
Did you? I think at the time Seattle wasn't even really in the picture enough for us to. Did you put Seattle as your with?
No, Seattle was only one of my guarantees in.
Oh, okay. They're the 3rd spot in the playoff thing now. That whole thing has gone like.
Yeah, so the
way AL West has just keeps shuffling up and down with anyway.
Yeah, because at the time 10 days ago, Seattle. So Seattle was not a part of my expectations because at the time Seattle was doing so well. I was actually expecting Seattle was going to win that division, and Houston was going to be the 2nd team. So this is only for the Yankees to get the last spot, and right now there are 3 teams ahead of us for that last spot, which at the time was Boston, Toronto, and Texas.
Yeah.
But now Texas has moved into number 2, and Seattle. That just shows how well Texas has done. Seattle's moved into number 3, so there is still a possibility with Seattle having moved down. If they only win 4 more games, and Toronto only wins 6, and Boston doesn't go on a wild winning streak, then there's a possibility. But I don't see.
Yeah, that's a
Texas
lot of ifs
and Toronto winning less than a week's worth of games.
Yeah. I mean,
in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we do play. We would just have to play perfect against the Blue Jays, and with the 6 games we have coming up, and
again, that is 5 games winning if the Yankees win out.
Oh, they win every game.
Yeah, from here on out. So they'd have to win every game from here on out to allow Texas to win 5 games. Each loss, the Texas only leads less, like 1 less each loss they get. Right. So, if the Yankees lose 5 games, we're out.
Sure. Okay.
So that just kind of puts into perspective of how unlikely.
Yeah.
The chances are.
And that's like definitely a more practical way to think about it. StatCast puts it at less than 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, which you see is
low,
slim to none, but at least you can put some, kind of games to that math of like, well, you need to be winning every single game if you want to hope that the Rangers
need to win
somehow
every game,
only win 5 games
Rangers
in the next 2 weeks.
To not win. Yeah. So, not a very good scenario for the Yankees. It's definitely a situation that, we talked about last time. If you want to listen to our rants about Cashman last week, go ahead and listen to last week's episode. But there are so many issues with this team, and that we should never have been in this position to begin with. I think most people predicted the Yankees to be in the playoffs, if not winning their division at the beginning of the season, with the expectation that the Yankees would not be done in their signing. They didn't do any of that. They signed Franchy Cordeo, and they traded for Spencer Howard and Middleton. Yeah. And one's injured, and the other two I cut.
Yeah.
Or is Franchy in AAA? I don't remember now, but anyway.
Yeah, it was, not good. That's why we are playing the math game to see if we can get into the playoffs instead of like the Yankees should be and, easily getting in, dominating all the AL teams around us, especially in a year where the AL is so weak. It's just so sad that couldn't be taken advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and when it comes down to it, like the Yankees should be, again, we already said it, the Yankees should be not in this position, but the fact that we've got Tampa, Baltimore fighting for the division win with a bunch of players, Baltimore side that are young guys. And we couldn't figure it out. I mean, again, they'll bring up injuries, they'll bring up this, they'll bring up that as far as reasons why we couldn't do this or we couldn't do that. But to me, the buck stops with Cashman.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and how
they shouldn't have. There were clear holes before we started the season, and that was obvious to so many people, and they just didn't get the job done.
Yeah,
and I'm sure they saw it too, but they didn't get the job done.
They didn't get the job done, and to me, the longer Cashman stays in his job, the more the fault lays on Hal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, at the end of the day, Hal needs to make a decision.
Grow up.
Yeah. I think you
run
said
a baseball team
to grow some. Stop keeping your best friend, your
I mean, the Red Sox today. Did you see the Red Sox today? Fired Chaim and
Chaim Bloom.
Yep.
And the Yankees can't do the same. Are you kidding?
And to be honest, Chaim Bloom, not to give him a compliment because he did give away bets for nothing, but I think he was trying to push it back together, and and they he has to deal with
GM, but. Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying I want him as the Yankees GM. I'm just saying his mistakes happened in a post 2020 world where I think his owners were telling him they had to get rid of Betts, if I remember right. And
it's not 100% on
so I mean we're talking I mean I'm not like it's like they're in last place they were in last place last year too, right? So I mean I mean this is probably deserved. I don't pay that close attention to the Red Sox, so I don't know, but from he's only been there for 3 years and it doesn't seem like they gave him an opportunity to actually like build and fix some stuff, but meanwhile we've got
but again the Red Sox are saying finishing fourth
is not acceptable, and you're out. Totally,
and
like I respect the decision to fire him. I'm just like, wow, like I would have been like, give him a little longer. It's under like he had a hole to dig himself out of,
Right.
But Cashman has been, coming up with zeros since 2009, and like. We haven't been to the World Series since 2009.
and I think the only thing that saves him, not in my opinion, but I think in Hal's opinion, the thing that he's holding on to is, well, last year we won the division.
Yeah,
and
last year we won the division. We get to the ALCS. Yeah, we go to the playoffs almost every year. Sure. But it's like, okay, but context matters. You're the New York Yankees, and I don't think we should be happy with. I think we'd be okay with an ACLS bid if we had a World Series within the last decade. Like, there's a reason there's so much anger and just frustration right now with everything. You would give a little more leeway to a team that had won in 2017. You would give more leeway. Like, okay, that sucks that they didn't get a left fielder, but at least we've got a recent World Series to remember instead of nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think on top of that, too, when you're looking at last season, even, right? Like we won the division last season, but did any of us feel like the season was really a success? Even with take away
limping
the
into the
sweep
playoffs
against Houston, but limping into the playoffs the way we did.
Yeah.
I felt like we were lucky to end up as the division winner. It was good that we were so good playing baseball at the beginning of the season. Our bullpen was on point. Judge was obviously
insane.
on fire.
I mean, they were on pace with the 98 Yankees until like mid-July, or maybe it was early July that year.
And then we couldn't buy ourselves a win in August.
Yeah.
And so at that point, yes, we almost won 100 games that year. And yes, baseball is a marathon. But it was almost like it got to a point where certain things happened that, as a GM, somebody who is more in the inner parts of the team should have been able to fix better than the way they did last year. And then because of the way last year ended, they kind of just were like, well, last year we won 99 games, rather than looking at the team that was on the field and then the last 2 months were under 500 and expecting that team, as built with just the addition of Carlos Rodon, was going to fix everything. It's the doing nothing part after Rodon that screwed us.
Oh, absolutely. I am 100% with you.
Yeah.
100%. I'm just saying those actions might have been taken differently had we won more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm just saying that
no, it's just a complete failure to do a GM's job to not fill the holes that we had. That's it. Yeah.
I agree with you.
It's just, and so it makes it even more shocking of look, why can't you fire Cashman? They fired Bloom. They gave him a short window and they said, nope, all right, next, let's move on, find someone else.
The Astros won the World Series. They didn't re-sign Justin Verlander and he said,
oh, what's your problem? We'll figure out a way to get him back. Don't worry. Yeah. You're gone. So the playoff hopes are dwindling, and we'll be sad for this offseason a lot quicker than we have been recently, but it sucks.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure this out. And I mean, assuming Cashman's part of the main,
I mean, if we miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, his head's on a stick.
It's got to be on a hot.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we make the playoffs next year, but
that's
what
I'm saying. But
he better be fired.
Yeah, I mean, his head I think New Yorkers would literally be down there in front of Yankee Stadium, picketing, protesting and yelling about how Cashman needs to be fired if that happens.
Question.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just not real sure how the playoffs work. I'm trying to glean from what you guys have been talking about.
So recently they expanded how many teams can get into the playoffs. I don't remember what year it was. Last year, year before.
I think it was last year. No, it was 2020. I think they added it.
Oh, okay.
No, it was not 2020. I think 2020 they added a ton of teams in, and then they went back, and then last year they decided to add the extra team.
Yeah.
So I think 2020's playoffs were weird. Never mind.
When I grew up, it was 4 division winners and 1 wild card. And then at some point... 3 division winners. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking 4 total in my head. I'm sorry. Yes, 3 division winners, 1 wild card. Then they changed it to a 1 game playoff wild card bullshit that sucked, and everybody hated it because it was 1 game, and nobody likes baseball being determined on 1 game. I mean, it's fun and exciting for that 1 game, but it really sucks.
like you get pulled so quickly in that game too. Like if as a pitcher, if you give up like one or two runs
like,
within 2 innings, you're out.
Yeah, which stinks because if you win that game, your bullpen is totally shot and you're screwed. So that's how they did it for a few years, and then very recently they changed it to the 3 division winners and 3 wild card teams from each league. So you get 12 teams going to the playoffs.
And the top 2 of each side gets automatic buys, and then the 4 remaining teams play a full series.
Yeah, so they play what's called like a wild card series, even though one of those teams is the lowest winning division winner.
The best way to explain it is if you watched not current football, but because they've also changed their playoffs recently, but in the last decade, 2 decades previous, basically the way they did their playoffs is the way the MLB is doing theirs, with the 6 teams, 2 going by.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So those teams are ranked. The top 3 division leaders are ranked 1 through 3. Regardless, well, those 3 are in order of their record, and then separately, the wild card team is in order of their record, ranked 4 through 6, and then so 1 plays 6, 2 plays 4.
Yeah. And can I just put like, I want to point something out because I know that not a lot of people, I know that the commissioner of baseball, Robert Manfred, does not give 2 shits about what I think.
Does he give 2 shits about baseball? I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure either. But if I were to be GM for a day, well, I don't want to say this would be the one thing that I fix, but it'd be one of the things I'd want to fix if I was GM for a day, is the playoff structure. I think it's stupid. And I think it's the same thing in the NFL. And this is coming from a Bucs fan who benefited from a division where we went 8-9 and we're somehow still hosting a playoff game in the first round. To me, that makes zero sense. So
Minnesota getting any benefits sucks. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think you're the division winner, Minnesota. So for those who don't know, we've talked about it before. The Central in the AL sucks. They're only not as bad as the NL Central, which in that situation, the top 3 division winners are the top 3 record teams. But that's not the case in the AL.
It's not the case
all the
every
wild
year
card
in the NL
teams.
Either.
Yeah, and it's typically not the case where the worst division winner is the 3rd best team.
Yeah, and for context, again, we've said it before, but the Yankees would be in 2nd place in the
that
Central.
Division.
So still worse than the Minnesota, but the Yankees are in last place. So
in that division. And on top of that, though, when it comes to the playoff race with Minnesota is a worse team than any of the other wild card teams record wise, and the next wild card team, the first wild card team or first team out of the wild card, Toronto, they are worse than them. So Toronto, or if Toronto makes it in, whatever team gets bumped out, they are going to have a better record at the end of the season than Minnesota does, who is going to get an automatic, not only automatic berth to the playoffs, but a home field advantage in the playoffs. To me, I think that's stupid. I would not go as far as to say that do divisionless baseball, because I think the divisions are fun. There are unique things when you do come to different divisions, and as much as and I'm not saying that you were saying this earlier, but as much as we would like to say, if we were in the Central, we would be doing this.
Right. It's just
we're not
for
in
context.
the Central, for context, right? But there are some fans though that actually whine and complain, and think that because the Yankees aren't in, that they need to make this change. But I don't agree with that.
No.
I think the division winners should get their benefit of making the playoffs, but I think that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think
they shouldn't get home field advantage in the playoffs for having a worse record than your supposed lower seed.
So the way I would do it is your top 3 division winners get their automatic berth in. Your 3 wild card teams, the next 3 best teams that are not division winners, they get an automatic. They get sent in. and then you re-rank everything based on division. So the way it would look the way it is currently is the number 1 seed will be either Baltimore or Tampa. And then Houston is number 2 and Minnesota is number 3 with either Tampa or Baltimore. Whoever does not win the division is going to be number 4. And then Texas and Seattle, the way it currently lays out, as 5 and 6. The way it should be ranked, in my opinion, is Baltimore, Tampa, 1 and 2. They get their first round bye. And then Texas, 3. Houston 3, Texas 4, Seattle 5, Minnesota 6. And then that forces Minnesota to face Houston on the road. So Houston gets the home field advantage there. Minnesota does not. And then Texas gets home field over Seattle. And I think that just works out better for baseball. I think Baltimore and Tampa have been fighting to be the best team, and they are clearly the 2 best teams in the AL. They should be in.
Yeah. They should receive that reward. Right. I agree. Like, they should get the bye the first 2 weeks. Or the first 2 weeks, the first game. The first 2 teams should get the bye the first game. That makes more sense than Minnesota, having home field advantage just because they're
1 second.
In a bad division.
Laptop charger popped up.
Oh no.
It was plugged in. All right, sorry, I'm back.
But
that's what I would change.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be a better way to do it, especially with how open the playoffs are now.
And again, I would do the same in the NFL. If I was the commissioner there, I would get rid of that. I just don't think it's fair for a team like Tampa last year. I'm a Bucs fan, so Tampa last year goes 8-9. There are teams that are better than them not making the playoffs, and somehow they're sitting there as a home field advantage. Going into the playoffs. Again, I think division winners, you won your division, you should go to the playoffs. However, you don't get the added benefit of getting an automatic home field advantage on top of that. I just think that that's too much. I think in a time when there was only one wild card winner, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Because it's just the way it works. To me, I was less, and I was also younger, so I maybe didn't have this opinion back then, but I don't think I would have that opinion now if there was only one wild card. But now that there's 3, and Minnesota is worse than all 3 teams, it's it's just a glaring slap in the face to the wild card teams. It just makes it more of a joke too. So I think it would be better for the playoff structure for the way you're saying. I agree. Yeah, and on top of that, it creates an issue between 5th and 6th, right? Because the way it works now is whoever is 5th in the division, I believe, has to face off against Tampa or Baltimore.
Okay.
Versus in the first round. So the 2 best teams in the league, the 5th place team is going to have to face, the 6th place team is going to have to face off against one of the top 2 teams in the division in the league. Whereas, I was right.
Right now,
5th goes up against Tampa, and then 6th gets the easier matchup against Minnesota.
Right, Minnesota gets to play. Seattle gets to play Minnesota, I guess is the better way to say it.
And they're the 6th place team.
Yeah.
Whereas Texas has to go up against Tampa.
Right.
Even though Texas has had a better season than Seattle as it currently sits, they get punished by being better because they have to go against Tampa. See, that's just where
you'd almost want to try to squeak in so that you get to play Minnesota.
Yeah, you almost want to, at the end, if you could guarantee that you'll still be the 6th place team and not fall out of the playoffs, to kind of suck at the very end and let Seattle leapfrog you. That's just the kind of uncompetitiveness that you don't want. And people might argue that, one of the reasons why the Tampa Baltimore stuff is exciting right now is because whoever wins that gets an enormous advantage by being the 1 seed. But I still think that there would be there would still be a push to be the 1 seed, because then you get full advantage for the playoffs if you're the 1 seed than being second, because if you guys both win, then number 2 is away in the divisional series. And we all know that people say that the divisional series or the championship series is more pressure than the World Series.
Yeah.
So,
anyway. I think it would be better to do it that way. I'm sure, maybe they'll change it, but yeah, it's silly that Minnesota gets any advantage over teams that have a worse record than them.
Does that answer the question?
do we fully confuse you at the end there?
I mean,
sorry.
Eventually, I'll figure it out.
We'll explain better as it happens. Okay. Right now, there's a lot in movement, which it does make that exciting, which also is probably why they expanded the playoffs, because now we're talking about who's getting those wild card spots a lot later in the season. Because if it was just one wild card spot like it used to be, this conversation's over. Tampa's in it, so Tampa's it, and Texas is a good 9 games behind them, 8.5, and so we wouldn't be talking about. We would already know the playoff structure at this point in September. So, anyway, it makes it more fun to talk about for later in the season and more drama, which ratings and money love too. So, okay,
absolutely.
We've belabored that, and
we haven't done it in a while, but we both have a Yankee.
You covered up the thing. That's not fair.
Sorry. Do you want to cover up yours to me? I feel like it just makes it too obvious.
That's true, and mine would be incredibly obvious.
So
I haven't looked at yours yet.
So don't look at mine yet. Hang on.
So back-to-back rounds of Who's That Yankee?
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
Who's that Yankee?
Are you resending it?
Yeah, don't look at it.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't know what she's talking about, I hid the position on the one that I sent. I just feel like sometimes the position can make it too obvious. If it's an obvious one, it can make it really obvious. Sometimes you need the position if it's not obvious. Like if it's like, who was the one that I feel like I gave you at some point? Somebody that maybe was Ronald Torreyes. It would have been hard to get him without the position.
Yeah, I think that's right. Or like Edward Nunez, or I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, here I covered up the position.
All right, I won't look at the first one you sent.
Yeah. Trusting you. There you
go. All right. I got that one. New one.
Oh my God. I just saw the year. So whoever it is played from 1941 to 1956.
But look at the side.
Okay.
So they're a career Yankee.
So if I get this wrong, people are going to judge me.
All right, so are we doing this together, or do you want to do yours and then I do mine?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to see? Yeah, I guess I can go first.
We can do it separately. That's fine. But I'll hide. If we're doing it separately, then I'll hide this so I don't get more time to look at it. All right, so explain what you're seeing so that.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. I clicked away. Because I'm not smart. Okay. So 1941 to 1956, but this gentleman served in our U.S. military during World War II, 1943 to 1945. So he didn't play during those years, but he is a career Yankee, and he won the MVP award Or no, he didn't. Though that's the position that they finished. He won in 1950. All right.
Yes.
My old eyes reading the. Okay. Yes, 1950, and finished in various places on a lot of his career. And let's see. I feel like, if I get this wrong, I'm in big trouble. So.
If it gets too hard, I will let you know what the position is.
Okay. Is this an outfielder?
No.
Okay. So I'm trying to narrow down my I don't know years. I'm not good at history, Ryan.
Well, just try to think of that time.
Yes.
Who had been playing with this person. And so, like, what are their stats?
How many rings does he have?
I actually don't know 100%.
Does it say? Oh, it doesn't say.
It doesn't.
They go to
it
the
just
World
says
Series?
That there are four-time All-Stars. Is all it'll tell you. 5-time
Okay.
All-Star.
So not a home run hitter. What else am I looking at? He wasn't even. So he's a career 273 hitter.
Yeah. MVP season, though, he hit 324.
Yes, he did. Look at that.
So if he was
led the league in plate appearances.
If he was winning, being in the MVP discussion and an All-Star, but not a great hitter, he must have been really good on another part of his game.
Must have been a really good fielder.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the position?
This is really, I feel like it's going to get it.
I'm going to just know.
Shortstop.
Oh. Oh, no. I don't know.
He's also known for being a broadcaster.
Oh. I feel like I'm going to get my Yankee card pulled.
I think you're there. It is Phil Rizzuto.
Okay. Yes, he force fed it to me. Don't yay that.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I don't know why in my head I never knew I didn't realize he
won an MVP, but
I didn't know he won an MVP, and I didn't realize that he played in the 40s. Why did I think he played a little later than that? Maybe because of his broadcasting stuff. I just thought he was.
I don't know. I thought that he played. I didn't realize that he was also like in that Ted Williams situation where he left for the military service.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, so I didn't know a lot about Phil Rizzuto. So, I mean, obviously, I feel like I know broadcaster Phil Rizzuto better than. I mean, which makes sense.
I was wondering if I should have just said, instead of commentator, I should have just said, "Holy cow!"
Holy cow! Yes. Oh, so, I'm ashamed. I'm sorry.
It's all right. All right. So yours now.
Yours.
Mine's going to the one that's more position hidden.
That's
the word.
Okay.
All right.
Not a grammar pod either.
Oh, you hid the career stats away from me too, but okay.
Oh, yeah, I think I chopped it off.
It's okay. I already know it.
You already know it. Good. Okay.
Just based on the teams that they're in: Texas, Atlanta, LA, and then New York. This is Mark Teixeira.
Ryan's much better at this than I am.
I love Mark Teixeira, so I remember.
Well, this is your era of Yankees
growing up
too.
With baseball,
so.
Yeah, he was one of the big 2009 signings that got us to win the World Series the last time ever.
Ever. I think somebody said
what he had to go through though, like that degenerative eye.
Yeah, between the eye stuff and then all the shifting that happened at the end of his career, just kind of like cut his career really short.
Screwed over a lot of players with that shifting, like when shifting came about. Like Ryan Howard was one of the best ball players ever. As soon as the shift happened, he didn't know how to hit the ball anymore.
Yeah. I mean, so I think it was like 2013, 2014 when he's going through his eye stuff, right? His batting average is 151 and 216 when batting average mattered, right?
Well, 151 was an injury.
Oh, yeah. I see. I didn't even look that way.
But yes, he went from batting 292.
Was that the wrist one? I think he had like the same Benintendi or the same one that Hicks had, right? He had the same injury that Hicks had because I remember when Hicks had it, Teixeira said something about like, good luck or whatever, like was trying to give him advice. But then,
you're right. Like if you look at the statistics, batting average rise, he's hitting 280, 300, 280, 300, 290, 300, 300, 280, 350, 290, and then it's 250, 240, 250, 150, 210, 250, 200.
Yeah. So after, post 2009, I don't know when shifting really started. Shifting's always been part of the game, but the extreme overshift is what I'm talking about, obviously.
I think it started after 2009.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then that plus all the eye stuff he was going through, it just kind of, I mean, he was 36 when he retired, but it was just those last few years were just so much different than what he had done earlier. But Teixeira is part of Yankee lore, Yankee legend now because he won a World Series with them. I think people forget how important Teixeira was in that World Series. I know A-Rod gets a lot of credit, which is justifiable. I have my opinions about A-Rod, but he was a very important piece and one of the most important pieces of the 2009 playoff story. So, Teixeira
we don't win 2009 World Series without
A-Rod.
But there's also several players that we don't win.
You got Matsui, you got right.
Yeah, Matsui was MVP, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, he was MVP that year, right? Yeah, Matsui. You got Teixeira had a great playoff year that year, I thought. But anyway.
But thank you for listening to us on another podcast. We probably won't be talking again until probably the last week. Ryan's just a little humble brag going off to Hawaii for our honeymoon.
Yes.
So we won't be back for I don't know exactly when, but at least a couple weeks.
Don't catch on fire.
Yeah.
Well, you go into the Big Island though, right? Like you're going.
No, we're going to Kauai, which I did when I was looking into things. Just like we were like, should we still be going?
Yeah, sure.
I think things have settled down on Maui. I mean, there's a lot of recovery stuff going on there now, but I was like, I don't want to get in the way of things. But they said Kauai is like not even touched.
Yeah, from what I understand, they want tourists to come. Like they want.
Yeah, there's actually somebody I work with is going to. I mean, she's going a month later. She's getting married now, and she's doing the same thing as you, just a month later. She's getting married tomorrow, I think, and then in October but she's going to Maui, and so she called all around the island, everywhere that they had booked, and asked, and I know the hotel told her, please come. So especially in October, I think, because they were like they didn't want another COVID like situation where their economy just took a huge hit.
Dropped. So
so,
I know that there was a lot of like question during the time of the fires. They were like, don't come.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean,
and included the neighboring islands.
Sure, I mean those need shelters and yeah.
But everything I've heard is right now I guess they're asking for people to come back to help bring money back in so they can support the island, and also Kauai is not affected. So anyway,
so you should have a good time.
We'll be going to Hawaii.
And when you come back, the Yankees will most likely be fully out of the playoff race, and we can just discuss how the playoffs will look without them.
And what teams that we're going to be rooting for.
Yes.
That since we can't.
Which teams would we like to see? Yes.
Anybody playing Houston Astros? That's who I'm rooting for.
Okay. Beat them. I think they're very beatable this year.
They are.
So which sucks. It would be cool
if it had been beatable last year.
Or it would be nice if they were beatable last year, or would be cool if the Yankees were any
In the
realm
playoffs.
of good so that they could beat them.
They're not.
But they're not. Alas. So so
Anyway,
thanks for listening to us,
again
everyone.
for listening.
We'll be back.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter, X, Threads, Instagram at Damn Yanks _pod, Facebook at Damn Yanks Pod. Hit the notification and subscribe button on either YouTube or Spotify, depending on what you listen to us on. And again, thanks for listening to us chat for under an hour today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, we did it. All right.
How about that?
How about that? Thanks, everyone. See ya.
All right. See ya.